Hello, everyone. It is so good to see you all. I'm going to try to find the part where I can see you and explain what in the world is going on. Okay, let's see. Hello, everyone. It is so good to Okay, there we go. All right. So hopefully you can see me, and I'll explain a little bit of what's happening and what's going on now that it's on here. So yep, it's just me. Kristen is on a trip in Canada, and she thought she was going somewhere that had internet and that was not so rugged. And when she got there, she texted me super late, like 2 nights ago, saying that she is staying at a house that is literally floating in the water because she's going on a salmon fishing trip, and that they have absolutely no cell phone reception, Wi-Fi, anything. And so she is 100% unable to join and unable to even communicate with me. Like, I literally can't even talk to her because she can't even text, she can't even talk. So that's why it's just me. We can't do a split screen. We can't do anything to get her here. She's literally like on a house floating in not Alaska, in Canada. So I'm trying to just be very much like, all right, here we go. I know that it's the last week, but I have some super special stuff for y'all today. I am going to absolutely bring it all, and I've got some super special stuff up my sleeve today to make it really worth your time. So we are actually going to do 2 giveaways today, and the winners are going to be able to pick whatever they want from our merchandise. So whether that's you want to get both sets of verse cards, you can pick like one set of something. So both sets of verse cards, you can pick a t-shirt, you can pick the audio book, you can pick the regular book, Girl Defined, whatever you want, a signed copy. It doesn't matter. You can pick whatever you want. But I am just so excited to be here, and I'm really just praying that you all are doing amazing. If someone can type in there and say she's literally like on a house floating in Canada, and she ended up really far out in the middle of nowhere with no Wi-Fi. So yeah, I don't even know where she is, actually. I literally haven't talked to her. But this is the thing that I would really love for y'all to be praying for while we're going, is that she has absolutely no Wi-Fi, and I was trying to log into YouTube to do this live video for y'all from a different computer, because my computer, I have a great laptop Mac computer, but when it came to me from the manufacturer, it came with a defect, and it sometimes goes in and out of Wi-Fi. And so I am supposed to take it back into Apple, and they have to actually send my computer away for like a week. But knowing what we do here at Girl Defined, I don't really ever have time to send my computer away for a week. And so when I do live videos like this, sometimes it has issues and it cuts in and out. And so I was feeling extremely just like stressed before, and like, oh, like I can't do this from my computer, all of that. But I could not log in on any other computer. Our account with Girl Defined would not let me. It was just like the password was not working. So y'all can be praying that the Wi-Fi will just work. But for those of you who are just hopping on, we are on week 6, what it takes to build a lasting relationship. This is a topic that I am extremely interested in, obviously, because I am in a relationship, I'm engaged, I'm heading into marriage, and I want to know, what does it take to build a lasting relationship? There are so many marriages that are falling apart, so many marriages that stay together, but that are not thriving. They're lasting, but they're not thriving in that lasting. And so what I want to do today is talk about what we can do to not only just get married, to have a relationship, but to have one that lasts and that thrives. So the official title of this session is called What It Takes to Build a Lasting Relationship. And we're going to be covering chapters 17 and 18. And for those of you who are just hopping on, this is our last and final week of the Love Defined online 6-week summer study. Thank you all so much for joining and for being a part of this. We are so excited. Kristen and I are so excited for all that God has done, and for all that He has done through Love Defined, and just all of you on here. But I want to know, is there anyone that has been with us for all 6 weeks? So you were here from week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. If you were, I want you to say a comment, because I want to know which of you were here for the entire time. And then the rest of you, I want you to comment how many weeks you actually were able to join us. If you joined for 1, or for 2, or for 3, or for 4, or for however many you were actually able to make it. I would love to know how many you have actually made it. Jen C says, I've been here for all 6 weeks. Way to go, Jen! Jessica says that she has been here also. I was all 6 weeks. Jillian says, I was here. Shannon, I've been here. It's been so great. Sarah says, hey, everybody, 6 weeks strong. Thanks, Sarah. Even when all 6 weeks, Libby's journal, 5 out of 6. That's really great. Nika missed 1 week. Hey, 5. Missed Metab Bath. I was able to join for 3 weeks. Amy, I've been here all 6 weeks. I've learned so much. I'm looking forward to learning more tonight. Teresa, I've been here the entire time. Caroline, I was here 5 and watched 1 next day. Go, girl. Way to catch up. Caroline Crumpton, 4 weeks. Hey, from Bama. Bethany Kincaid, a bunch of us from our little group have been here all 6 weeks. Susanna missed 2, but watched them later and was able to join for the other 4. Amazing. This is my first week from Emma Johnston. Way to come in, girl. Lauren May says, I've been here for all 6 weeks, but I joined halfway through the study on the 1st. So good. Sylvia, first week. Gabriella, this is my 2nd week. This is amazing. So for those of you just jumping in, this is the last and final week of our 6-week study. So we did 5 weeks before this. They're all live on YouTube. So if you want to catch up, and here Krista and I just teach basically a fly jet speed overview of our entire book, Love Defined, which came out May 1st of this year. I think May 1st. Actually, yeah, somewhere in May. I'm going to turn that on mute. Hopefully y'all can still hear me. Let me know if you have trouble hearing me. I just turned my sound volume off, but I want to make sure that you can still hear me. So if y'all can comment letting me know if you can still hear. Hopefully y'all don't start saying no sound. Anyways, so this week we're jumping into week 6. We're going to just go for it. And I want to leave a lot of time for Q&A at the end. We have covered a lot, and I really want you to have the opportunity to ask any question relating to love, romance, relationships, dating, guys. This is the week to ask your question. So I really want you to feel brave enough, to feel courageous enough to really ask that question, because there isn't a question where sometimes we have these questions where we feel like I really want to ask a question about love and romance or something to do with guys, dating, but I feel like maybe I'm the only one who has this question, or maybe another girl doesn't have this. I guarantee you, if you've thought the question, somebody else has as well. There's nothing new under the sun, as the Bible says, and you haven't invented something brand new. And if you're brave enough to take that step and ask a good question, a hard question, something personal, it'll really give someone else the courage to step up and ask their question, or to help them to know, I'm not the only one going through this. So I really want you to be brave enough and bold enough to ask those questions, because that's really where some of the most encouraging stuff happens, is when we're willing to open up and ask those. For those of you that are just hopping on, it's your first time, we've got the comments and the Q&A happening in the right-hand side. Q&A will happen towards the end of the session. So type out your question, keep it ready, and then submit it as soon as it's time. This session is being recorded. It will be uploaded to YouTube. This is the last week of our webinar, so there will be no more after this. We will be having a fall event, so a live online event, a one-night event. We'll keep you posted on details like that. There's always stuff happening, always stuff coming up. So stay posted. Just follow us on social media. You'll know exactly what's going on. And we are going to be covering chapters 17 and 18. For our giveaway today, like I said, giveaway. I am giving away 2 different things to 2 different groups, 2 different people, okay? So it's your choice, whatever you want. You can get a Girl Defined t-shirt. You can get a Love Defined book signed for you. You can get a Girl Defined book. You can get both sets of verse cards. That counts as one. I think I even saw a Girl Defined button back there. We have those stickers, like those fun stickers that we had from before. If you want me to just give you a surprise, if you want it to be a surprise, I'll come up with something. We have a huge room full of stuff. I'll throw something together and give it to you. So, you know, it's the last week. Let's go out strong. I want to see the most creative pictures posted, okay? I want something fun, inspiring. I want a caption that really pulls you in. So be inspiring, whether it's through your caption, through your picture. Make sure that you are in the picture. Post it to Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I'm going to be looking all around at the end on my phone, and you need to tag Girl Defined and hashtag Girl Defined. Email us your pictures, but post it, and I'm going to pick two winners at the end, okay? If you have not gotten your giveaway, all the giveaways have gone out, except I'm not sure if I thought that they shipped them last week, the other 2, but I'm not sure. So if you have not received your giveaway, I think most everyone should, except maybe the past 2 weeks. you will get it. Rebecca, our intern, is the one that's on that. And so she will be here this week, and I'll make sure that she gets on all of that to send it to y'all. So if you haven't, Jessica, yours should be coming soon. Hopefully you'll get it really, really soon. And Bethany Kincaid, I know you're still waiting on yours. But that's about the size of that. So I want to quickly pray for us, and then let's just jump right in, okay? God, thank you so much for today. Thank you for the opportunity to come together to learn. I thank you that we have the ability to gather across the world and do this and discuss and talk and learn about your incredible design for love and romance. Please help the internet connections and the computer to work strong. Please help my computer to work strong. Please help the words to just come out smoothly. And I know it's just me here, but I pray that you would speak through me and use me to really speak your truth. In Jesus' name, amen. So last week, we went over week 5, building your relationships on the right foundation. I'm going to do a quick overview, a quick review for those of you who weren't here. So that was last week, building your relationship on the right foundation. I talked about a trip that Kristen and I went on to Austria, where our Nana, our grandma basically, is from. She grew up, born and raised in Austria, which is why we have blonde hair, blue eyes. It's like straight from Austria. She grew up in a little town called South Austria, called the Großglockner Mountain. It's absolutely stunning and gorgeous. And I talked about how when Kristen and I were driving up the mountain with our family, we were going up and we knew we wanted to get to the summit. We knew we wanted to get to the summit and see the view, enjoy the view. In order to get to the summit, we had to keep our eyes focused on where we were going, on our end destination. We couldn't get bogged down thinking like, why do I have to drive so slow up this tall mountain, or these, guardrails? Why do I have to have these guardrails? We were appreciative of the guardrails, of the boundaries that helped us successfully get up to the mountain. And so we talked about how reaching God's summit in our romantic relationships, basically, building a relationship that is on the right foundation, a Christ-centered foundation. It requires us to be intentional by pursuing things that are foundational in Scripture throughout the entire relationship process. And so we talked about the foundation of having worship, purity, and holiness in your relationship and in your personal life. Worship of God, that must be our ultimate love. We must worship Him first and foremost above everything else, ultimately with ourselves, and then even in the relationship, Christ has to be the most important thing. Then we talked about purity, having a value for purity, choosing to be set apart like Christ and being okay with that. That needs to be a part of the foundation. And then holiness. The Bible says that you should be holy like I am holy, and having a desire for holiness, not saying how much can I get away with, but how much can I be like Christ? And so we talked about worship, purity, and holiness being the key foundations of the relationship. The key verse for last week was 1 Thessalonians 4:3-5, which says, "For this is the will of God, your sanctification, that you abstain from sexual immorality, that each one of you know how to control his own body in holiness and honor, not in the passion of lust like the Gentiles who do not know God." So that was the review from last week. We just really want you to, before you can even have a good relationship, you have to have that right foundation. You have to have a foundation of building your relationship on Christ, on purity, on His word, and that being the most important thing in your relationship, which will take us straight into this week, the final week, what it takes to build a lasting relationship. Now, relationships that last, relationships that thrive, don't just happen. They're not just automatic. They're not just, they don't just accidentally happen like we think they do in Hollywood. They take work. They take an intentionality. To truly be successful at anything in life, ultimately it takes effort. And so often in relationships, we want to coast on our feelings and ride on infatuation and follow our hearts and expect somehow to come up with this thriving, lasting relationship, but that's not how it works. We need to be intentional. We need to seek God and His word, and we need to be serious if we want that. So I am going to share a story with you of something completely not related to relationships, but you'll totally understand after I share it with you why I think it's so important. So back in high school, Kristen and I, we were really love to have fun, basically. And so we live in Texas. We live in the South Texas of San Antonio, and we went out to kind of like this ranch area. We were doing like this family camp sort of situation with a bunch of friends, and we decided kind of towards the end of the camp with some friends of ours, we were like, hey, wouldn't it be so much fun to go cow tipping? Like, wouldn't that be such a blast to go out, big cows, and to basically like push them over? And so we had heard that some people can go cow tipping, and that basically you can run out, sneak up on the cows, and push them over when they're sleeping, which, you know, sounds ridiculous, but in Texas, that's kind of like a rumor that goes around. So we snuck out late at night with our friends, literally trespassed on people's property, and literally snuck up trying to get to these huge, massive cows and push them over. And so I remember Kristen and I, we were walking up to the very first set of cows, and this big daddy bull looks over at us and is like, moo, or whatever it does, literally alerting the herd of cows. And then all the cows like get up and start moving away. And they were so huge close up. And Kristen and I, our friends, were like screaming and running, hopped back into the car. But we weren't satisfied. We wanted to tip more cows. So we drove and we trespassed on more people's property trying to tip their cows, which sounds absolutely stupid. We could have got shot by the people for trespassing on their property. We could have gotten arrested for trespassing. We could have got injured by a big bull trying to run us over. We weren't thinking though. We were just so in the moment, so trying to have fun, so just enjoying it, not thinking ahead, not thinking of the outcome, not thinking of the results, 100% in the moment. And so we tried. We didn't get caught by the police. We didn't get shot. We got totally busted by our parents. But at least we're still alive to show our faces for it. Anyways, what we learned is that cows can't be tipped. They don't sleep when they're standing up. They always are like, the moment you get close to them, they're just like, moo, and then they alert the cows and they all walk away, and they're huge and they could like literally trample you. And so we honestly thought though that we could. And yes, Libby says, and it's technically impossible. And so basically now, through our experiences, we can look down to our younger sisters and to those behind us and basically offer our wisdom and our advice and say, something even as silly as cow tipping, no, that doesn't work. Don't be stupid like us, and don't trespass onto people's property, and don't, you know, make stupid decisions like that. It's not worth it. Think ahead, think of the long-term results. And so that's a silly example, but it's so, Kristen and I learned a very valuable lesson from that one, we need to learn from the wisdom of others. We need to not just think in the moment and make decisions for ourselves and think, oh, this will be so fun, and not think of the long-term outcome. If we had asked anyone who had any wisdom at all, they would have said, no, you can't cow tip, and not to mention it would be a really bad idea to trespass on people's property and to, you know, potentially get shot, to get arrested. That's not really a wise idea. But we didn't choose to seek wisdom. We didn't choose to seek wisdom from people who had gone before us, who were wiser than us. So instead, we made really stupid decisions, and thankfully God spared us from anything really terrible happening. And we can look back on it now and laugh. But ultimately, this is God's model for us as women. He did not design us to walk the Christian life alone, and he did not design us to live and try to go about relationships and love and romance on our own. That is not his plan at all. And so with your relationship life, your love life, whether you're single or in a relationship, you are not meant to have all of the answers. God didn't design you to know everything. He didn't design you to have all the answers and to figure it out completely on your own. If you really want to have a lasting relationship and build a thriving relationship on the right foundation, you have to do what God talks about in Titus 2, which is basically seeking wisdom from older, wiser women. That is 100% his biblical model. In Titus 2:3-4, it says this: older women likewise are to be reverent in behavior, not slanderers or slaves to much wine. They are to teach what is good, and so train the young women to love their husbands and children. The Bible is basically commanding the older women in scripture in Titus 2, saying that you need to train the younger women to know how to love their husbands, how to love their children, how to not. Okay, sorry. I was making sure that there wasn't, there was someone at the door, and so I needed to get him away, but thankfully it was just the UPS man. Sorry for running away. I was like, why is there a strange person at my door? Anyways, we were not meant to walk this life alone. We were not meant to do this. And since none of us can go back in time, we need to take advantage of the next best thing. We need to learn from those who have gone before us. We cannot live this life and we cannot do relationships well on our own. Thank you all. This is a very flexible session, by the way. I heard someone at the door and I'm at Kristen's house and I'm like, why is someone at the door? There's not supposed to be someone at the door. So I'm making sure there wasn't anyone weird at the door. There wasn't. It was just the UPS man. And then I'm coming back so that I can do this session in peace. But this is the very casual one. Like, who knows what's going to happen? I don't know. Hopefully you'll get something from it, but we're all good and we're all okay. But I want you to be thinking, like, when you think of your own life and you think of the decisions that you've made, the good decisions and the bad decisions, I want you to think of, like, okay, what would have been the outcome in your life in a situation if you had wise input and counsel into that specific situation. For Kristen and I, if we had wise counsel and input into our cow tipping situation, we would have never done it. We would have seen the wisdom in it. In relationships, it works the exact same way. If you have wise input and wisdom from a Titus 2 woman in your life, it's going to completely change the outcome of that situation. And so that's really the entire focus of today, is learning from the women who have gone before us, learning from the women who have already lived and walked in the footsteps before us, learning from them, taking their advice, applying it and being wise, and really being the woman in Titus 2 who's saying that I will be that younger woman and be trained by the older women to know how to one day love my husband and love my children. God wouldn't command the older women to so train the younger women if the younger women knew everything. That's not how it works. He's saying, you older women, you are to be reverent in behavior. You're not to be slanderers or slaves to much wine. And you know what you are supposed to do? You are to teach what is good. And you need to train these younger women to love their husbands and love their children, because they can't live what they haven't lived yet. And so they need your experience and your wisdom to know how to do that. And so that is exactly what all of us need. And I actually, when I was thinking about Dave and starting a relationship with him, I was like, I really need like a serious mentor in my life. And I've had a lot of different mentors and people invested into my life. And I've read a ton of books and I've had wise people around me, but I was like, I need someone who can be there with me weekly, bi-weekly, who can pour into my life and be that Titus 2 woman for me. Because if I want to do this relationship well, and if God has marriage in mind for Dave and I in the future, I can't walk this road alone. I can't get there successfully without the wisdom of someone else helping me, walking me through when I have questions, when I'm not sure what to think about something, when I'm being irrational and all emotional. I need someone I can talk to, I can call, someone to pray for me, someone to walk me through this journey who's lived this life before me. And so I knew that I needed that, and I knew I needed a Titus 2 woman. But it was kind of like, how do you do that? Do you just go ask someone? And yeah, sometimes you do. And so I know this woman, her name is Yvonne Welch. She's actually speaking at the Girl Defined conference coming up in August. And so I basically saw her, and we were at the same little gathering, and I basically just asked her, I said, I've been praying for a really godly married woman to mentor me, specifically as I'm preparing for marriage and potential marriage and relationship. Would you be willing to be the Titus 2 woman in my life and talk with me and meet with me and basically pour your wisdom in me and show me how to one day love my husband and love my children, because I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything. And so she basically said she would pray about it, and then she said yes. And so really for like the past 6-7 months, her and I have been talking on a regular basis. She's recommended books. She's walked me through how to have a more meaningful devotional time. She's recommended books specifically on marriage, on relationships, on how to love your husband well, to prepare me for that role. She's even recently, she just recommended a book to help me really enhance and dig deeper into my devotional time by myself. And so she's just been pouring into me. And there have been times where I've had questions about the future, about my future with Dave, about even before engagement, like, am I ready? Is there anything else? Am I missing anything? Is this the right decision? Even things like, I know that, there's not going to be writing on the wall and I need to make this choice if I'm going to marry Dave, but is there anything I'm missing? What else do I need to know? And she was basically that godly older woman. She's been married for over 50 years, and she's that godly older woman who's basically able to look into my life from an outside perspective and say, hey, here's what I see. Here's what God's word says. Let's pray about this, and here's the wisdom that I have for you. And her advice in my life and her mentorship and her Titus 2 role in my life has been absolutely indispensable. She has helped me, and I really don't think that Dave and I's relationship would be thriving like it is, and I don't think that I would be half as well prepared for marriage if it weren't for her taking the time to talk with me. And so I just want to challenge you girls, as you're thinking about marriage, as you're thinking about relationships, and as you're single, to start doing that now. Don't wait to learn how to be a good wife, to learn how to be a good mother, to learn how to have godly character until you get there. Don't learn just from experience. Learn from the women who have gone before you, because the Bible says that the older women are to train you. And so we each need our Mrs. Welch, our Yvonne Welch in our life to be that person for us. And it's not just something that's optional. God is commanding the older women in Titus 2 to fulfill this role. So if there are godly women in your community, they're going to understand that. And they're going to see the need for that role. And so I would encourage you to take advantage of that opportunity you have to seek that out and to ask someone to be that person in your life. And, it doesn't mean it's always going to be easy or always going to be convenient or always going to be comfortable. You might have to be a little bit prepared. You might have to do homework. You might have to read extra books. You may have to adjust your schedule a little bit to work around her so that you can talk on the phone or meet in person or go to coffee or whatever it is. But it is such a crucial thing that we as women need in our lives. And, I really think that most women, whether you feel uncomfortable going and asking her or not, most women honestly feel honored that you would go to them and say, wow, I see so much in you and I think you're so amazing that I literally want you to help me. And you don't ask them and say, please do this for me. Say, would you pray? Would you pray about pouring into my life and being the tightest two woman in my life to help mentor me and walk me through singleness and walk me through this journey of potentially into relationships. I want to learn, I want to grow, I want to build a foundation to have a marriage one day that lasts. I want to have a lasting relationship in this world where divorce is rampant, hookups, breakups, people aren't even getting married. I don't want that to be my story, and I want to learn. I want to be wise. Please, will you help me and will you walk me through this? And so you can explain it like that and really, show her like, I'm serious. And I'm willing to put the time and effort into this. And if you can't do it, you have a recommendation of someone else who might be able to. And so really don't wait for her to come to you. Take that first step towards her. Pray about it. Seek God about it. Say, God, who should I ask? And then be willing to I want you to think of someone in your mind right now. If you do not have a Titus 2 woman in your life, I want you to think from now until the end of the session of who that woman could be. Who could be the Titus 2 woman in your life who could pour into you, whether it's in your singleness, whether it's in a relationship that you're in right now, whether you are, it was shutting off on me, whether you are far off from getting married. Maybe you're like, I'm not even going to get married for years from now. Who could be that person, though, that could pour into your life and really help build you up to be the kind of woman that you want to be in the future? Someone who you can learn from her experiences, someone who can help you, someone who can hold your hand and pull you along. And I'm going to ask you at the end to really write her name out for us and for you to be able to say, this is the woman that came to mind. And I want you to really commit to praying about that and praying about asking her to be the Titus 2 woman in your life to help prepare you to one day be a wife and to be a mother, or to help you simply just grow in character and to really become a Proverbs 31 woman. And I know it sounds like a lot and it might sound like a little bit daunting and like, oh, I don't know. It took me a while to think of a mentor. It took me a while to realize that Mrs. Welch was the one that I wanted to be with. But after praying about it, it was so clear, and God has just so miraculously worked and helped her. And really, she's helped me so much. And I'm just so thankful for that. And I want that for you. And so I want you, if there's anything we can leave you with today, that's the thing that we're going to leave you with, is to just really get serious about getting a Titus 2 woman in your life so that you can learn what it takes to have a lasting relationship and start building that character now. And so in the very end, in chapter 17, so we're covering chapter 17 and 18 today, Kristen and I actually interviewed 4 different godly women who have been married for 30, 40, and 50 plus years. These are women who have stood the test of time, who have been faithful and have beautiful, thriving marriages. They're not just sticking with it because it's, their duty. They actually love being married, and they love their husbands, and they love their children, and they're incredible examples. And so we asked them what we could do as younger women to prepare for this role. And I'm just going to read you one of them, maybe 2 of them. So we actually interviewed Yvonne Welch, and you can check it out on page 220. So if you have your books, go to page 220. She's been married since 1966. Such a long time. And we asked her, how can I, as a single woman, best prepare to be a helper to my future husband? And this is what Yvonne Welch, married over 50 years, had to say. Many times a young bride will look to her new husband to satisfy all the deepest desires of her heart. She will expect him to do what only God can do, give her total joy and fulfillment. In her book, Loneliness, Elizabeth Elliot says, one of the surprises in store for most brides and grooms is that they are still lonely. They get married and they're still lonely. A common but unreasonable expectation about marriage, and there are many unreasonable ones, is that the partner will now fill the place of everybody on whom one depended before: father, mother, brothers, sisters, and friends. Because falling in love is an all-consuming, preoccupied, and exclusive phenomena, it can be very hard on other relationships that no longer seem to be needed. That marriage teaches us that even the most intimate human companionship cannot satisfy the deepest places of the heart. Our hearts are lonely till they rest in Him who made us for Himself. Having been married to 3 different men, Elizabeth Elliot was married on 3 separate occasions, and each one of those husbands died until now. She's passed away, but her husband Lars is still living on. So her husbands died. All of them fine Christian husbands. So she's saying she was married to 3 different men. All of them were amazing Christian husbands. And she was saying that she has found that none of them, or even all 3 of them combined, could have met all of her needs. Even if she could have combined all the best qualities in all of them, they could not have met all her needs. The Bible promises that my God, not my husband, shall supply all my needs. If a wife continues to depend on her husband instead of on Jesus Christ, she may easily become the contentious woman from Proverbs 27:15. When you, as a single woman, learn to take all your cares, fears, and concerns to the Lord Jesus Christ on a daily basis, your heart will be strengthened. You will be preparing yourself to be a godly helpmate to your future husband. Yvonne says, personally, I love to invest time with the Lord early in the morning so that I will be strengthened for the challenges of the day. God uses this to encourage my heart and comfort me. This habit has been the means God has used in my life as a channel of His grace to fortify me for the challenges of life. I believe this could have been the greatest preparation that you as a single woman could make to equip yourself to be an encourager and helper to your future husband. And so basically what Yvonne is saying in a nutshell is she is saying that as an older godly woman who has been married for 50 plus years, that's something that she sees so many young brides do, is that they depend on their new husband, their new groom, to meet all of their needs. They basically say, you need to satisfy me and be basically God to me. You need to be my mother, brother, sister, church, all of my community, everything wrapped up in this one man, and you need to make me completely happy. And what Yvonne Welch is saying in her chapter, she's saying that is humanly impossible because no man was ever intended to do what only God can do. That God is the only one who can ultimately satisfy us. And so if we do not learn to ultimately find our complete satisfaction in Him, we are going to be sorely disappointed when we get married and when this man does not meet all of our needs, and we're going to place such a high expectation on him, and it's going to cause stress and strain and difficulty in your future marriage. And so this is something that I'm working on, and this is something that I would really encourage you girls to work on as well, is to begin and to continue looking to Christ for your ultimate satisfaction. If you're single, it is the best time to do that. And so that's Yvonne Welch. That is some of her best advice. That's what she was saying. I'd also like to read from Kimberly Wagner. We asked her a question. We said, what caught you by surprise during your first year of marriage? So this is a woman who's been married for 40 plus years. And we said, what caught you by surprise during your first year of marriage? So rewinding to when she was a brand new bride 40 years ago. And this is what she said. This sounds naive, but I thought husbands and wives have physical intimacy, not sure of the appropriate words to use here, but I think you get the picture, every single night. I mean, that's what marriage bed is made for, right? And you'd rather do that than sleep, right? I was wrong. On the 3rd night of our honeymoon, Leroy, her husband, was too tuckered out to do more than barely kiss me goodnight before he was snoring. And my heart was broken. I was devastated. I immediately thought, he doesn't love me. He doesn't enjoy me. He'd rather sleep than make love to me, which on some days is true. He would rather sleep, but only because he's flat out exhausted, not because he doesn't enjoy our intimacy or doesn't love me. And so that's That is actually on page, for those of you wondering, 224. But we just thought, wow, we go into marriage with so many expectations, and maybe that's you. Maybe you're thinking like, our marriage is just going to be a honeymoon every night, and it's going to be amazing. He will love me unconditionally, and it's going to be so sweet and so romantic and like a Hollywood movie every single night. Not taking into account, like, we're just human. We get tired. We need sleep. We need rest. We get sick. Life doesn't work like that. And so it's just even learning in those ways, in the practical areas, adjusting our expectations, adjusting our mindsets to be realistic and to be in a way that would encourage and bring joy to our future husbands, rather than placing this big expectation on it and feeling heartbroken when something doesn't go according to the way that we wanted. And so these godly women just share not only their spiritual advice, but they share their practical advice too. And I want to read one more. I want to read the one from Barbara Rainey that says, she's been married for like a long time too. I want to read the part, what caught you by surprise during your first year of marriage? This is on page 228. And she says, Barbara says, many things caught me by surprise during the first year. But one of the very first was how differently her and her husband viewed the spending of our very limited combined incomes. I was shocked that my husband thought it was perfectly fine to buy more fishing gear when we had our books and many other things stored on boards between stacked concrete cinder blocks. The fact that he thought our temporary solution to no furniture was perfectly fine and good enough to last for months or years made my head hurt from bewilderment. It was a clash of values. It was also the beginning of decades of merging our values through endless conversations to understand why his hobbies were important to him and why having storage was important to me. And so you can see there too, that two different views. The husband, he was cool with it. Like, this is a great solution. We're fine. I want more fishing gear. And she's thinking, I want new furniture. I don't want boards on cinder blocks. But a two different set of values that come together, and really, you have to work it out. He's not always just going to be like, yes, my dear, whatever you want. And you're not going to be like, yes, of course, go buy more fishing gear. There's going to be a clash of values, and you have to prepare ahead of time. What are you going to do when that happens? Are you going to learn from the godly wisdom women before you and say, wow, am I willing to give up my expectations and to have those conversations and really in a kind, compassionate way? Or am I going to freak out and be like, are you kidding? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Who needs fishing gear when our books are on the floor, So I just want you to be so intentional to continue to learn from these godly women who have gone before us. We say this in our book, Love Defined. Don't try to figure out everything about singleness, romance, relationships, and marriage on your own. Choose to tap into the endless wisdom and counsel available to you from the godly women in your life. Chapter 17 of Love Defined has 4 different interviews with 4 different godly women who have been married for 30, 40, and 50 plus years. We ask each one of them what caught them by surprise during their first year of marriage. And we also ask each one of them a different question about singleness and marriage. So if you want a place to start to learn from a Titus 2 woman on how to build a lasting relationship, go to chapter 17 and read that. But right now, I want to know, who is someone in your life that can be a Titus 2 woman for you and who can mentor you and train you to love your future husband and children and grow you in character to help you see those flaws in your own life? Who could that be? So if you are bold enough, I would love for you to comment in the section below or just comment in the chat section and let me know if there's someone that you can think of right now that you're willing to write her name out and say, I'm willing to pray about this woman. I'm willing to pray about this woman being the Titus 2 woman in my life. And I'm willing to write her name down for some accountability, write it in the comment section right now and say, this is the woman that came to mind. And I don't know if it's the right fit, but I'm going to commit this to prayer. And I'm going to ask God to give me the boldness and courage to go and ask her to mentor me, to be that Titus 2 woman in my life so I can learn from her. If you're in a group right now, I just want you to kind of turn to each other right now and say, hey, here's kind of who I was thinking. Or if you don't have any ideas, maybe ask your friend, do you have any ideas? If you're younger, the Titus 2 woman could be someone in her 20s. If you're a teenager, it could be in her 20s. Or if you're in her 30s, it could be someone even just a few years older than you. It doesn't have to be someone who's years and years older than you. But I just want you to write her name down and really commit to praying about that and really commit to asking her to invest into your life, to meet with you on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. Sarah Grace Partial says, Miss Genia. Great, Sarah, I just want to challenge you to really commit that to prayer and to really challenge you to ask her to be that woman in your life. MacFam says, this is the woman that has helped me and will help me with this, my mom. Your mom is a great option. If you can ask your mom to do that, that would be amazing. Isaac says, we thought of Logan Hemmings. She is awesome. That's awesome. Matt Tab says, I don't have anyone. I'm not very involved with my church and community, something I would like to change. That's a great start then, Matab, to get involved with your community. Even when says my music teacher, that's awesome. Even when, I would challenge you to ask her though, to be on a more official role, to mentor you, to help you to become a godly woman and help to prepare you for marriage one day. Jillian says Lindsay Armstrong. Nika says Mrs. Leisha. Amy says, Lauren, a woman from my church I have known for a few years, going to be praying about this. I would really challenge you to pray about that, Amy. Savannah says, my mom who has been married to my dad for 26 years. Savannah, and I challenge you, ask your mom, say, hey, I really want to get serious about my spiritual life. I really want to get serious about growing. Would you consider meeting with me like every week or once every 2 weeks and really helping me grow and challenging me and teaching me what you've learned over the past 26 years of being a wife? Ashley Thompson says, my mom who has been married to my dad for 26 years. Ashley says, my pastor's wife, she has been so influential in my life so far. That's amazing, Ashley. Hannah says, sadly, my amazing mentor got married and moved away, so I'm praying for another one. Absolutely. And don't, if she can FaceTime with you or Skype with you, take advantage of that. Catherine says, my mom for sure, she's an evangelist in my church and the one I've got. That's an awesome option. Taryn, one of my youth group leaders, I'm struggling to come up with someone specific, possibly Becca Butler, Becca Hefner, or Josie. Those sound all like great options. Really pray about it. Isaac says, do you recommend a book to go through together? And then Jessica says, my mom, an amazing older Christian woman, Sue Doty. Those are all awesome options. And yes, I would, I just want to encourage you, those of you who didn't comment, to keep thinking about that, keep praying about that. I really believe this is the next step in each of your journeys. If you do not have a mentor, to becoming that godly older woman, whether it's your mom or whether it's someone else. And here's what they're doing. That verse says that the older women are to train the younger women to know how to have good character, to know how to love their husbands, to know how to be a good mom, be a good wife. But that kind of mentorship role is something that should happen long before you're married. We should be preparing to be a godly woman long before we actually get married. And so if you're wondering, wait, what am I going to ask them to do? It's basically going to this woman, older woman, and saying, will you mentor me? Will you disciple me? I want someone that's ahead of me in life to basically pour into my life. Maybe it's going through a book study. Maybe it's she loves to teach, and maybe she just wants to teach you about different topics. Maybe it's just her sharing from her life, saying these are important character qualities to work on. Let's study each quality. Maybe you just study the Bible with her and she teaches you how to deepen your relationship with God. She teaches you how to pray. She teaches you how to have a solid devotional time. If you want some more structure, I would recommend doing something like Women of the Word by Jen Wilkin. This book, we can read it together and then do the discussion questions together, and you can really help me and see where I need to grow. You could do a book like a book by Nancy Lee DeMoss, like Choosing Gratitude, or Choosing Forgiveness, or Surrender, or Holiness. Or you could choose a book by Elizabeth Elliot. Elizabeth Elliot has incredible books. She has tons. Pick any one of Elizabeth Elliot's books, and you can say, hey, can you walk me through this? Or maybe it's through a book of the Bible. Say, hey, can we read through the book of Proverbs together? Start at the beginning, and can you walk me through this and really help me to grow and help me to learn? And I'm frozen on the screen. Where did I go? Okay, there I am. So that's basically all that it is. Books that people that I would recommend going to Revive Our Hearts. Go to reviveourhearts.com. That's with Nancy DeMoss Wolgemuth. If someone can write that in there, go to reviveourhearts.com. That's a great place. If you can't, these are people you can learn from and be mentored by, even from across a distance. You don't have to know them. Leslie Ludy, read any of her books. She's listened to her podcast, Get Her Magazine. Elizabeth Elliot, I'm going to copy these and stick them in if I can. And let's see, okay. Revive Our Hearts, Leslie Ludy, Elizabeth Elliott, and then Elise Fitzpatrick. Sorry, they got all clumped together. But those are women that I would recommend as Titus 2 women in your life. Again, the goal is to not try to figure out everything on our own, to really to learn from the godly women before us. So that's your challenge for today, is to really start making learning and growing an intentional part of your life to help you grow and learn, so that one day you can have a godly marriage and be a godly woman who encourages her husband, who encourages her children, who's a godly wife and a godly mother. That is ultimately what I want to leave you with today. Thank you so much for being a part of that last teaching segment. We're going to move now into a time of Q&A. So if you have any questions in the entire world, anything to do with guys, singleness, love, romance, we're going to move into that. I'm going to put it in the Q&A section right now. And I would, like I was saying before, I really want to challenge you to be bold and to ask those questions, and to ask the question that you want to ask, but you're afraid that maybe you're the only one that has it. Maybe nobody else struggles with these things like you. Maybe you wonder if any other girls have ever thought it. Be bold. Take that first step and ask that question. Even when asks. How should you compliment guys without sounding flirty? Awesome question, even when. So how you can compliment guys without being flirty? Well, there is a big difference. So just think of your body and your mannerisms. You know, if you're up to a guy like, oh, thank you so much for holding the door open for me, like flirty, you know, or like, thank you so much for holding the door open for me. I really appreciate that. Like completely different. Like, say it's a guy and he carried something heavy. Like, oh my goodness, you're so strong. Thanks for carrying that for me. Everything about my tone, my voice is being flirty. Okay, or I could say like, thank you so much for carrying that for me. I really appreciate it. There's something, you're being very kind, you're being very complimentary, but everything about your language and body language is completely different. So really think about your tone of voice and your body language, and then double check, like, you know, are you constantly wanting to compliment this guy because you're just like obsessed with him and in love with him? Or are you being genuine and really saying, like, really showing appreciation, but not going overboard? So that's something I would just challenge you on. Can you explain complementarianism? There are two different views when it comes to the roles of husbands and wives. There's two main ones that people kind of argue about: complementarianism and egalitarianism. Very big words, very complicated. I'm gonna give you a name of a lady, and I want you to go look her up, her website. I think it's Girls Gone Wise. Google that. And she has awesome stuff on all this topic that I 100% agree with if you really want to dig into that. But basically, there are just different views of roles within marriage. So there are some people who say that, oh no, we should, in the Bible, when it talks about husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church, and it talks about wives submitting to your husbands as the head of the home. There are a lot of controversies about what people take those passages to mean, and how we should live that out. Kristen and I really hold to the view that God has put order within marriage, and there are distinct roles, and that men and women are uniquely different. They're equally valuable, but different. We do not think that men and women should fulfill the exact same roles within a marriage. And that would not be a view that, a lot of people would hold to, but we believe that that's biblical, and we believe that that's what the Bible teaches. Whether we like that or not, we believe that God has intentionally and for our best and for his good for the man to love like Christ loves, to sacrificially lead as the head of the home. And that we as women, when we have a husband that is sacrificially leading like that, honestly, it would drive you to want to ultimately submit under that. When we say submit, we're not talking about like being a doormat or not having an opinion or anything like that. We're just saying that there is order in this home, and that ultimately that we are honoring that role and respecting our husbands in that role. But really, I would challenge you to go and read Mary Cassian. We really love what she has to say on all of this, if you want to dig into it a little bit further. Also, I think on girldefine.com, we've written some posts on submission. That would be super helpful too in understanding it a little bit further. Okay, great question though. Caroline Crumpton says, favorite book on purity, and not excluding yours. Dana Gresh has awesome stuff. I think one of her books, And the Bride Wore White by Dana Gresh, if someone can type that in there, is an awesome book on purity. So I would challenge you to look that up, Dana Gresh, And the Bride Wore White. And Isaac, what is the difference between being friendly and flirty? I kind of answered that earlier. Taryn Miller says, what do you think about dating in high school? I think it's so important to be intentional in dating, to not just date around for fun. If you cannot get married for years on end, I would really question you, challenge you to question, like, why do I want to start a relationship right now that's going to go on for years on end? It'll be a distraction from me really focusing on what God has for me right now, to finish school, to really stay focused. What are the potential temptations and compromises that could happen? So I would just really encourage you to think through those things. I didn't get into my first relationship until after high school, which was intentional. I'm not saying that that's the magical age, but I would just really challenge you to be very intentional and to not start dating until you feel like you're potentially ready to move into a very serious relationship, which could lead toward marriage. Not that the first person you date has to lead toward marriage, but to have that mindset that you are very intentional and you are very serious and you're not just messing around. Emily Kaufman says, how do you respond to the people who keep asking when you are getting married? That happened to me for a lot of years, 29 years. So when are you going to get married? Like, well, don't you think I want to? They're just being kind and sweet and asking. You can just tell them, this is just a great response all around. Like, I would love to get married and I'm so ready whenever God brings that man along. So just give them a simple answer like that. No need to get offended, or they're just asking, and, try not to judge their motives, just answer genuinely. Mac Fam says, do you want kids? If so, how many? And do you want a girl or a boy? I would love kids. Yes. I'll just be real up close and personal. Dave and I are not doing anything to prevent children. We're not using birth control. We're not using natural family planning. We will not be using anything when we get married. So really, we are just fully and completely trusting God with that area of our life. And if he wants to give us kids right away, wonderful. If he doesn't, we trust him with that. If he never gives us kids, we trust him with that too. But we are 100% fully and completely going into marriage with open hands and just saying, God, we are leaving the choice of children with you, because you really, you are the one that gives life, and you are the one that chooses when is the right time. And we don't really want to be, we don't really want to make that decision ultimately, because no child is an accident. And if God chooses to give us children quickly, then we're just going to trust that that's his perfect timing for us. So I'm going to scroll down so I don't miss too many questions. Okay. Let me see. From Calvary Girls, how do you handle guys that ask for hot pictures? Well, you delete their phone numbers and block them. I'm serious, girls. Like, I just want to say to the Calvary Girls and to every other girl watching, we do not need that kind of added pressure as young women in our lives. We do not need guys in our lives who are that disrespectful towards us and who are literally degrading us down to our bodies and wanting to enjoy us for their own selfish pleasure and consume our bodies. They don't care about your heart. If they're asking you for hot pictures, which is common, nude pictures, that, and it's going very slow, hopefully it'll catch up. That is not something that's okay. Even though it's become very normal in the culture, that is absolutely, completely dishonoring and disrespectful. And as a young woman, you're striving to honor God. You're striving to walk in purity. Be willing to help yourself out by not letting those guys around you and in your life. They do not need your phone number. They do not need you on social media. If they're asking you for hot pictures, they are already being so disrespectful. They are not cherishing you. They're not loving you. They're not really wanting what's best for you. They're being completely selfish. And so I honestly, this is going to sound extreme, but I would block them. I would not have them on my Instagram, Snapchat. I would completely block them away from all of those things. We do not need those types of people on our phones and able to access our lives. And so I would just really encourage you to get serious about that. Don't keep that secret. And if there's a guy that's asked you for hot pictures, I really seriously would encourage you to help yourself out by not allowing that temptation around you and not giving into that pressure, thinking that that's normal and that's okay. If a guy did that to one of my younger sisters, I would probably go and talk to him and be like, all right, buddy. But, you know, I thankfully no guy has done that to one of them. But if one of them did that to one of my younger sisters, I would tell them, like, you do not need to be around that guy. Block his number, get him off your Instagram, your Snapchat, whatever. Just you don't need that in your life. Anyways, it may sound a little bit harsh, but I 100% stand behind that. And Calvary girls, I lost your name up there. Get serious about pursuing purity. Get serious about living and going towards the North Star, which is living holy and set apart like Christ. And don't allow those distractions and those, you know, immature guys who just need to grow up. Don't allow that to be a distraction and think that's normal. All right, well, we are about out of time, so I'm not going to be able to answer any more questions, but I want to give away two different things right now, and so I'm going to go ahead and pick two winners right now, and let's see here. Dun, 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 dun. If y'all can give me a drum roll from afar, that would be great, because I can't. But here we go. Okay, we are going to get the two winners right now. All right, these are completely and totally random. I did not even have time to look through these too much, but the final winners, you can DM me or actually send us an email at contact@girldefined. Drum roll. The two winners, we have Caroline Pennings. She says, speaking of cow tipping, I'm literally crocheting a little cow while I watch. Like, you have got to be kidding me. How hilarious is that? I'm talking about cows and she's literally crocheting. So Caroline Pennings, you are one of the winners. You can pick whatever you want, a shirt, a Girl Defined book, a Love Defined book. If you want a surprise, I'll send you a surprise. Burst cards, tell me whatever you want. And then the second winner goes to Shannon Elise. She says, the summer study with Girl Defined has been so rewarding. Learning from their wisdom has been so strengthening and absolutely incredible. Titus 2, 3 through 4. Shannon Elise. There's her picture. So Shannon and Caroline, send me an email. I'm so excited for you girls, and I just want each one of you to know I love you. I care about you. I genuinely want what's best for you. Kristen wants the same thing. We are on your team. We are for you. We want you to know that God is for you. Christ is for you. And I just challenge you don't stop here. Don't stop growing. This has been 6 weeks together of learning and growing, but continue. Go back up and look at those, Mary Cassian, Nancy Lee DeMoss Wolgemuth, Elise Fitzpatrick. Go read their books, Elizabeth Elliot, read their books, listen to their podcasts, read their magazines, continue learning, and then go out and find a Titus 2 woman, find a mentor who can continue to help you to grow. Don't just assume that godly marriages automatically happen, that you will be a godly woman. Make intentional efforts to build that, okay? I love you all. I'm praying for you. I hope that you all have a wonderful Monday evening. Kristen sends all of her very best and all of her love towards y'all. And hopefully she'll be able to hop on Instagram or something as soon as she gets Wi-Fi to say hello to all of you. But we are just absolutely honored and blessed that you would take the time to spend time with us. I feel so honored that you would spend your Monday evening with me. I'm so proud of you for taking the time to do this. In a culture that is not going towards God, you are doing an amazing job. Keep it up. We're cheering for you. We're praying for you. And I hope to see some of you in August at the Girl Defined conference, or if not, maybe at the fall event. But I'm just so excited to connect with you. And you all are some of my favorite people in the entire world, even though we haven't met before. I feel so connected to you in a unique way through this sisterhood. So I love you girls, and I hope that you have an amazing Monday night. Bye.